Hi everyone, it's Andrea from Movers and Bakers. Today I'm going to share with you how I make brownie cookies, or as I like to call them, Brookies. These are beautiful little cookies, bite-sized cookies, but with all the texture and flavour of brownies. Lovely and chewy and soft, but in a cookie. Amazing! Let's get baking. So to start with, I am going to melt together my chocolate. This is dark chocolate I've got here, and I've got some unsalted butter. I'm going to pop them together and then melt them down in my microwave until they are completely melted and mixed together really well. Okay, so my chocolate and butter are melted together, and you want to make sure that it's completely, you do it in 20-second increments. If you're doing it in the microwave, you can obviously do it over a pan of boiling water as well if you want to. I've done mine in the microwave just because I find it way quicker, and you want it to be lovely and smooth and a little bit thick like that. Make sure it's really well mixed in. Now we're going to set that aside and get on with the next step. We want that to cool down a little bit before we start to add it to our eggs. Otherwise we're going to end up with scrambled eggs, which is not what we want at all. Okay, so in a large bowl, I am going to crack 2 eggs. I wouldn't very well. Never mind. It's all right, if you get a shell in, just fish it out. Right, and after that, fishing my eggshell out, I'm also going to add in some caster sugar, some brown sugar, this is light brown soft sugar, vanilla, baking powder, and salt. I'm not talking about the quantities here. You can find all the quantities for all these ingredients in the link below to my blog. I will put everything there, including all the instructions and everything. This is just to show you how it should look and how it's done. So with all my ingredients in there, I'm going to beat it up. Now, if you've got a stand mixer, you can absolutely do it in the stand mixer, or you can do it with a hand mixer like I'm doing today. What we want is we want to mix this up so that it's completely blended, and then we want it to go really pale and almost creamy in colour. So it's not just mixed, it'll take about 5 minutes or so to get to that stage. So while I'm beating this up, it's a really good time to remind you to like this video and to hit the subscribe button, just so you know every time I release a video. And do share if you want someone to make this for you, or if you want to make it yourself. Share it around, won't you? So you're looking for your egg mixture to be really pale, and it can still be a bit runny, that's fine, but you can see how creamy and how thick it is when I run my blades through it. You can see how thick it is. It's lovely. So that's exactly where you want it to be, and if that's taken you about 5 minutes, that's given our chocolate mixture time to cool. Right, so our chocolate mixture has cooled down a little bit now, and it's time to pop this in with our eggs. So I'm just giving it one last stir to make sure it's all evenly heated and it's not clumped together or anything like that. And then I'm going to pour it in to my mixing bowl whilst I'm mixing, whilst the mixer's running. So I've mixed that together on a low speed. You want to do that low and slow, and you want to make sure it's completely mixed together before we do the next step. Now, I don't need my hand mixer any longer, so I'm getting rid of these. And I am going to now sift in the remaining of my dry ingredients. So I have here some plain flour and some cocoa powder, because it wasn't chocolatey enough already. So we'll sift that in. And if you've not seen any of my videos before, this is the reason I like to sift my ingredients in. You can see in my sieve there, my cocoa powder has formed into little lumps, and they will go through, but they just need breaking up. If I put that in directly in there, you would end up with a much more lumpy mixture and like clumps of cocoa powder, which then would not mix through properly. So you'd get unbaked lumps of cocoa powder in your final cookies, which isn't very pleasant. So I just like to give it a bit of a sieve, get all those bits much smaller so that it all mixes much better. There we go, all done. Set that aside and bring our spatula back again. I'm going to very carefully and gently mix this in. I don't want to get rid of too much of that air that I've spent time putting in when I beat my eggs really light and fluffy earlier. So I'm doing this really, really gently, and you'll see it start to come together into a very thick brownie-like dough. And once you have nearly mixed it all through, it's time for our final ingredient going in. These are chocolate chips. Now these are absolutely optional. If you want to, you can substitute them for some nuts or chocolate chips, or just completely leave them out. I like the chocolate chips because it just adds, because we haven't got enough chocolate, of course, we're gonna add some more chocolate. Now, I have made this previously using dark chocolate chips. These are milk chocolate I'm using today. Whichever you fancy works absolutely fine. Dark will give you a much richer brownie cookie, where these will make it a little bit less dark and deep. So milk chocolate chips going in, and then I'm going to give that a very gentle mix through again. Make sure you have scraped the bottom of your bowl really well to incorporate any dry ingredients that you might have missed from the bottom there. And once you are done, you will have, as you can see, this beautiful, it almost looks like a brownie kind of texture mixture. So now this is all mixed through, I'm going to pop my mixture in the fridge for at least a half hour. I want it to cool down enough that it's not really runny anymore, because these cookies are not going to be very thick. They're going to spread out really flat, as you can see from the dough. So when I put them in the fridge, the butter's going to harden, the chocolate's going to solidify again, so I'm going to get a much thicker batter, and I will see you when I've got chilled dough to get it ready to go in the oven. All right, so my mixture has chilled out in my fridge for about half an hour, and I've got my oven preheating at 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. And now it's time to get these cookies sorted. So I'm using an ice cream scoop just because I find that easier to get the same quantity every time. You can use a spoon if you want, or whatever other method you find easiest. And all I'm going to do, because I want the same amount for each of my cookies, I'm going to do a full scoop here. Your mixture will be quite stiff, as you can see, compared to when I put it in the fridge before, so it's nice and firm. So I'm just getting a full ice cream scoop's worth, and then I'm just going to plop it down. If it comes out, there we go, nice and slow on my baking sheet. So on here I've just got parchment paper, that's it, all done. So I'm going to fill this, making sure I leave a little bit of a gap for spreading, and we will then bake these for about 8 to 10 minutes, and I will see you on the other side with baked cookies. Okay, so my cookies are done. They baked for 10 minutes in my oven, and I left them on the baking tray to cool down before I moved them to my wire rack. That bit's really important. That's how you get the really lovely fudgy centers to them. Don't try and move them as soon as you take them out, or they will just fall apart and you will end up with a beautiful, tasty, but messy cookie. So you want to leave them to firm up on the tray and then move them after, and here we are. So how do you know if your cookies are done? Well, they will have puffed up a little bit. You don't want them to be really firm when you pull them out. And you will see these cracks all over the cookies. They will have gone all the way into the middle. If it's not started cracking in the middle, it needs to go back in for 30 seconds to another minute. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, sometimes it's a bit less. Just check around the 8 or 9 minute mark so you can see what your cookies are up to. So when they come out of the oven, they will be quite big. And what will happen, because they're still slightly soft in the middle, is they will sink down and they will become a little bit flatter. So don't be alarmed with that. With that though as well, you will get this lovely crusty crackled top that we love in brownies, but obviously these are cookies. So the only thing that's left to do now is to crack into one to show you how beautiful they are. So it's got this lovely, like a brownie, this lovely crackled top, and it's lovely and shiny. And if I break into it, should be lovely and soft and fudgy in the middle. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. So really soft, it's going to be really chewy. You can see how it's really rich chocolate in the middle there. Absolutely gorgeous. You are going to love these. And there you have it, brownie cookies, or Brookies, whichever one you want to call it. Don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, to like it and hit the subscribe button so you always know when I release videos. Thanks for joining me today, friends. Happy baking.